Hi Ryan, thanks for joining me today. Great show, more focused, a lot of activity out there, a lot of labs in the self sort of paced training area from a developer side. And I know you cover the engineering side of things, the software engineering side of things. If you can give us a brief introduction, what your role is, and then we can jump into the talk.
Great. Thank you for having me. My name is Ryan Morgan, Senior Director at Broadcom, responsible for parts of the Tanzu platform, and more specifically, the Spring engineering team and the integrations that we do for Spring on Tanzu platform.
Awesome. I am well familiar with Spring because I'm a coder at heart. I've coded for years and I still code. When we hear about Spring, the connotation comes as Java, right?
Yeah.
It's focused on Java, right? And Java is still one of the popular languages out there. So we'll get into that a little bit more. But what are you announcing at this event, which is new? I know you guys launched the Spring AI late last year, and then what is the edition now?
Yeah, so at the conference this year, we were announcing Tanzu Platform 10. And if you've listened to the keynotes and listened to Hawk and Purnima speak about really the transformation that VMware is taking at Broadcom, it's really about simplification of the portfolio. It helps us to simplify internally, but also our customers. We have essentially more streamlined options for them. And really what Tanzu Platform 10 does is give our Tanzu Platform users really a unified view across all their foundations. We also provide abstractions over Cloud Foundry as well as Kubernetes, really giving developers a really simple and unified experience across either of those deployment types. So that's been the big push around this conference. In addition, we have a bunch of exciting Spring things too that we can talk about.
Yeah, sure. So we'll get into that, and we were talking just before we started recording, is that the idea is that Spring is Java sort of related, and then there's APIification of those tools for developers. Now, anybody using any language can use those services. Is that the goal?
Yeah, that's really how. Maybe just to step back briefly, Spring has always been about modularity, portability, giving developers choice. You can change technologies underneath your application, really with very minimal change to your application. And that's really been what's powered Spring for the past 20 years. That coupled with a very vibrant community. We have hundreds of different technology starters out there. So no matter what you choose for your application, there's usually what we call a starter that will help you get going. And then over just in the community itself, we have over 1,000 different community members that have committed code to Spring over the years. So it's really that just kind of this combination that's really kept Spring moving along. I'd also say that just the innovation and kind of being able to look ahead has also been something that's kind of kept us as really that top choice within the JVM for development. And as you were saying, Gen AI and all these AI tools coming, all those have API surface area where now you don't need to be a Python developer. You don't need to be a data scientist to be able to play with these tools. Yep. So really what Spring AI is doing is taking those same principles that we have within Spring Boot and Spring Framework and applying that to the AI world, right? So if you think about the different chat models that are out there, I feel like there's like a new one every week, every day.
That's true.
There's that. There's the data engineering for creating pipelines to maybe provide augmented information that you could use to to better inform for your app. Those are all things that play really well into what Spring does. And the goal of the Spring AI project is to kind of bring really all these abstractions to the Spring developer, as well as provide patterns that make it easier for them to develop very feature-rich, intelligent applications.
That's awesome. So Spring, known for model view control MVC, that's where it started, right?
Yep.
So it got richer and richer. So some of those libraries are being built by the community, or or the framework itself is getting better?
So the core Spring AI project is largely a Broadcom effort. However, as the ecosystem expands, we have many contributors out there. I think the most recent release that we had a couple days ago had 70 different contributors that are providing abstractions for various technologies. And like I said, we really can't do this by ourselves. So we partner with the hyperscalers to provide seamless support for them. We do a lot of work with the VMware private AI team, and really being able to bridge the story that you hear with VCF and private AI over to Tanzu, and allowing Tanzu customers to be able to take advantage of those abstractions, really no matter where they're deployed.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Actually, it's at some point it's all about economics, and it's a game of numbers, like how many developers we have on a platform, and Spring has a big following, right? So I don't know what the exact numbers are these days. How many millions?
There's
developers.
Millions of developers, I would say. Yeah, it's still the numbers that we have. I would say it's somewhere north of 50% of net new enterprise applications are written in Spring.
Yeah.
So it really does have this momentum behind it.
Yeah, actually, most of the time ISVs may not enable on Spring, but the enterprise developers, they hang on to it because it solves a lot of sort of mundane problems that we get into when we are trying to have the sort of the 3-tier applications written with model, view, and controller.
Well, this is also a great, if you think about the investment that enterprises have made into the JVM and into Spring, one of the other great parts about Spring AI is that you can take all that built-up knowledge that you have within your development organization, and then layer the ability to add intelligence to that application without having to start from scratch. You don't have to learn a new framework. You can just really take the tools that you're very familiar with, and I think Josh has a demo where he went from nothing to a fully working application in 20 minutes. So it's pretty exciting to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's the magic of the frameworks. Actually, frameworks give you that ability to, especially Spring does that. So you can bring in your libs, your jars, and then the core is done for you, right? So that's huge productivity gain there. And adding, I think Gen AI and code assistant, that kind of features to this world of Spring, if you will, Spring developers. Actually, one thing actually you can sort of add to it. I believe that some of the developers I feel they're getting left behind. So if you are using certain language and that certain language is not conducive or not friendly to the newer libs, and so then or libraries are not getting richer. Now you need to use the REST APIs to get to that functionality from other sort of backends and or third-party vendors or other open source projects. So having that facility, if you will, to bring in other components into your application is great.
Yeah, that's actually a good segue into another feature of Tanzu Platform 10 that we just announced that's called Spring Application Advisor.
Okay.
And we do see cases where there are many people that they write an application and it's off to the side that there's obviously maintenance and bug fixes that are done, but they're not modernizing that application as the world moves forward. So what Spring Application Advisor does is it gives you a full inventory of what your application is using. It gives you visibility into CVEs and other types of things that you might want to be worried about. And then it also provides the ability to do a assisted migration, where you can take it from an older version of Spring or an older version of Java and move it to a new version. So that's pretty exciting. Once you get to that new version, you can then set up automation to where it's actually happening on its own. Right?
Oh, wow.
So we want our customers to be able to deliver business value. Sometimes the boring work of doing upgrades and hygiene, it's not viewed as the fun part. So we want to take that and let our customers be able to use their valuable developer time to create value, value add versus doing maintenance.
Yeah, awesome. And any other newer features which are added recently to?
So we have two other kind of broad categories of Spring features on Tanzu Platform 10. One is around governance.
Okay.
So governance is a growing concern. And what we've done is create a starter, which is a little piece of code you can just put into your application. And what it does is it tests for PCI and other types of compliance. And it can give you a report. You can actually create policies to say this application can't start if it doesn't have these particular characteristics. And then also it provides a reporting interface so that you can generate your entire estate and see kind of where you stand.
The audit kind of.
Yeah, like an audit, exactly. So that's a big area. And then the last one is really just around performance. So when you talk about Java, you've been in Spring and Java for a while. One of the big complaints, let's say, is memory usage and startup time and how it might not be a container-friendly language. And that's really something that we've taken to heart, and we've really put a lot of work in the Spring Boot 3 line to really focus on efficiency and making sure applications start and also use less memory. There's a lot of talks this week on that. But the big one that's in Tanzu Platform 10 is what we call App CDS. So App CDS is a feature in the JVM that essentially, when you bring your application up, it'll do a pre-train, and it will set aside any of the class metadata that might be needed. So on future starts, it's loaded automatically.
Oh.
So what we see is around a 30% increase in startup time.
Oh,
So
wow.
just little things like that. You can take your application, you put it to cloud or onto Tanzu Platform, and you can suddenly kind of benefit from things without having to touch your application.
Yeah, this take me to my older, philosophy talks during software development, the lazy load versus fully loading objects, and then this is kind of semi, in between. You have that metadata about the class, and then it just speeds up the process of loading those objects into the memory. That's awesome. And I remember last year talking to Betty Junod about some of the software supply chain enhancements. One of the security domain issue or the aspect is that what libraries we are bringing in from outside, from open source and or from third-party vendors, it can be commercial as well. Who is cooking those up, and are those safe? Is anything done in that context here as well, or it's part of the Tanzu?
That's part of Tanzu Platform. So we do have ways for organizations to create secure software supply chains. We also do a lot of work with software bill of materials. Again, being able to report and dig into exactly what these applications are using. Right. One of the interesting things with Spring Boot is it's a single file that you're basically pushing up onto the platform to run. Inside that artifact, there could be dozens, hundreds of different dependencies that you don't see. So being able to bring that visibility to application operators so that they can flag it and have teams do fixes to bring those into compliance or into to a newer version is really important.
So I heard there was a live coding happening here, and that was the part of the application. You said it was created within a few minutes. Is that?
Yeah. Yeah, so on the Spring 1 Spotlight that was on Monday this week, we had one of our dev advocates, Josh Long, on stage with the project lead. And basically, the idea was to take an existing application. In this case, it was a dog adoption service.
Okay.
And really, how can you augment that application with more rich information? So they built an AI assistant that would then tap into a database of information about the pets or the dogs, and then you could start to ask questions. And you could even tell Spring AI what persona you want to act as. You load the data into a vector store. It's a very powerful example of just really how quickly you can go from really having nothing to having something that's really fully functional.
That's awesome. So it has the Gen AI sort of aspect built into it.
Right.
And is that recorded, or people can get to it through
Yes,
later,
so the
or through
recording will
YouTube or
be
something?
on YouTube in a few days.
Yeah, I'll put that link actually
Yeah.
in my video as and when it becomes available. So how does all this tie into VCF or the greater vision, what Octane described, like the simplification of the SKUs from 8,000 to 4 and all that stuff, right? So it gives some people, partners, and some sort of stakeholders, like they get pumped up, right?
Yeah.
It gives them hope, and their margins can be better and all that stuff. But it gives chills to some other people, like, hey, will I be able to get this, what I was getting earlier?
Right.
So from a developer side point of view, or SDLC, software development lifecycle sort of management point of view, are there any changes by consolidating that sort of SKUs into smaller offerings? Is there any impact there?
The biggest benefit is really a better together story with VCF, right? So if there's fewer SKUs on both sides, there's fewer permutations of things that people might do. It's easier to streamline the common path that we see people take. And that's been one of the big stories. We talk a lot about the golden path for developers, and we view the combination of VCF with Tanzu platform, for the Spring developer, does provide a golden path to where they can be very, very effective and quick, I guess, in being able to deploy and have that application velocity, and being able to deliver, value to their customers.
Yeah, I think that the change velocity or innovation velocity is the key sort of tenet of private cloud and or public cloud, which makes us hop onto cloud faster, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah.
Any departing words for developer community and or sort of DevOps community, or where you see the future of SDLC going with the latest developments, the Gen AI and all that?
I think the biggest thing that I've seen, I've been doing Java for 20 years, and really what we've witnessed, I think, over the past 2 or 3 years is a real rapid acceleration in the delivery of value add on the JVM. There was a pretty big jump from Java 8 to Java 17.
Oh, yeah.
There's been a lot of, I think, challenges for the developer ecosystem to make that jump. But once you're there, it does, in our view, set you up for the next decade of innovation. And we're seeing it now. There's there's virtual threads that was just released. Again, Graal VM is another exciting technology. All this Gen AI work that we're doing. And really what that does from the Spring developer is it gives us a lot of additional things to be building on top of, right? So it's just kind of this continuous virtuous cycle of innovation. And that's probably what excites me most about where things are going.
Yeah, modernizing the language and the framework with the times, I think it's very important to keep it, as a vibrant community. And
yeah. Definitely.
And I hope Oracle is not injecting there, because it's like Oracle, after they got Sun, there was some.
No, Oracle's a great partner of ours as well. The Graal team at Oracle partners very closely with the Spring team, so we tend to find things before the masses, just given that we're doing this deep integration. But really, like I said before, it's a community effort. On the JVM, we have all the hyperscalers are very involved in creating great integrations for their services, and Oracle's a great partner as well.
Yeah. Great. With that, I think we'll finish this talk here. Thanks, Ryan, for your time. And I know your time is busy here. I know there's a lot of running around and a lot of developer-focused sessions happening there.
Yeah.
So thanks for coming, and I enjoyed the talk, and we'll keep in touch.
Great.
All right. Yep. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it. All right. That's great.